Are you ready?
Yep.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? For WrestleTrivia, I'm your host, Kevin J. Callis.
Yeah!
And you're watching episode 55 of Wrestling Jeopardy, the ultimate interactive game show where you're the contestant.
Because it's gonna be a dogfight, and I promise you, the best man's gonna win.
And as always, please give this video a massive thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Now let's go to the board and check out the categories that you'll be quizzed on, starting with obscure nicknames, followed by something I've never had happen to me, what is a fashion faux pas. Our third category is initials. Our fourth category is toughest SOBs. And our fifth category this episode, we took the week off for the big 50-question WrestleMania Spectacular. And if you haven't seen it yet, I'm going to put the link right in the description below. But our member category of the week is back, and the choices were Attitude Era Finishing Maneuvers, PG Era Finishing Maneuvers, and Ruthless Aggression Finishing Maneuvers. And the winner by a majority, almost 2/3 there, was Attitude Era Finishing Maneuvers. And that sound means it's time for the 200-point jobber round. This is the absolute easiest round in Wrestling Jeopardy. If you don't answer all 5 of these questions correctly, I mean, come on, can you really call yourself a wrestling fan?
And why would you want to do that, Kevin?
All right, let's play the game. Here comes the first clue of the jobber round. Nicknamed the Masterpiece, this wrestler flaunted a physique that resembled an ancient statue chiseled from stone. With his bouncing boobies, who is Chris Masters? Here comes fashion faux pas for 200. This wrestling legend opted for an all-blue attire when he and his Evolution stablemates took on the Shield at WWE Payback 2014. This fashion faux pas became the subject of numerous memes and online jokes. Who is Batista? We're on to initials for the first time. What does OTC stand for? Now, Roman Reigns' leave of absence following WrestleMania 40 left the door wide open for Solo Sikoa to slide in there and start leading the new bloodline. However, Roman proved on the debut episode of Raw on Netflix in 2025 that he is now and forever shall be the original tribal chief. On to toughest SOBs for 200. The visual of this superstar profusely bleeding while locked in Bret Hart's sharpshooter at WrestleMania 13 has become one of WWE's most iconic images. While the result that night did not end in his favor, it didn't take long for Stone Cold Steve Austin to prove he was one of WWE's toughest SOBs. And let's finish up the jobber round by having you name the Attitude Era finishing maneuver shown here. This might also be the only finishing move that's had a pay-per-view event named after it. What is the rock bottom?
What?
I know you went 5 for 5 there. I just sense it. You know, you're smarter than you look.
It's true!
And let's move on now to the 400-point round. The difficulty is ramping up considerably. Here's the second clue from obscure nicknames. Nicknamed the Man of 1,000 Holds, this wrestler is a former WCW Cruiserweight and United States champion. And currently he works as an agent, producer, and coach for All Elite Wrestling, also referred to as the Iceman, who is Dean Malenko. On to fashion faux pas for 400. Shawn Michaels is one of the most talented in-ring performers of all time. However, his choice of brown tights at this 2002 pay-per-view event was atrocious. He also had that weird bob haircut, which That was not the vibe, especially in the setting of the first ever Elimination Chamber match at the 2002 Survivor Series. Here comes your second clue from initials. What does APA stand for? If you had the money, they had the time to protect you. Who were Farouk and Bradshaw, the Acolytes Protection Agency? Alright, let's see if you can correctly answer this clue about pro wrestling's toughest SOBs. If you ask any wrestler who the toughest man in wrestling was, the answer is universally this Polynesian powerhouse. Now, I'm currently reading Arn Anderson's autobiography, and in this book, he claims there are 3 types of men in this world. There are tough men, there are wrestling tough men, and then there's Haku. Let's finish up the 400-point round now by having you name this Attitude Era finishing maneuver. Scotty 2 Hottie's signature move brought Attitude Era arenas to a fever pitch as the WWE Universe spelled out W-O-R-M. What is the worm?
What? Hey, don't hate the players, hate the game, G!
And we're back to more obscure nicknames for 600. Nicknamed the personification of domination, this wrestler made his WWE debut in July 2008 as the advisor to the Brian Kendrick. And the answer to this question is Ezekiel Jackson. On to some more questionable fashion choices now for 600 points. To add to his menacing appearance while in TNA, this wrestler's misguided attempt at face paint was a bit too phallic looking. Appearing with a tribal tattoo to harken back to his Samoan roots, the concept was definitely there, but the execution was lost as it looks like Samoa Joe had a large drawn onto his head.
Really?
Onto initials for the third time. What does BSK stand for? A collection of superstars brought together in the mid-1990s by their love of playing dominoes and their absolute hatred for the Clique, who are the Bone Street Crew. On to more tough SOBs as we pass the halfway point of the game. With his wild hair, bushy beard, and bulging eyes, this unpredictable brawler refused to stay in one territory, preferring instead to create carnage across the globe. And that would be the one and only Madman himself, who is Bruiser Brody. Let's finish up the 600-point round now by having you name this Attitude Era finishing maneuver. I guess you could say that Val Venus proved his skills extended beyond his lusty exploits outside the squared circle. This move was called the Money Shot.
Hello, ladies.
And just like that, 15 questions down, 10 to go, plus the daily doubles still floating out there, and we also have Final Jeopardy. We begin the 800-point round with this clue. Nicknamed the Beautiful Nightmare, this wrestler was uncomfortably close to her big brother Paul. And by Paul, I'm talking about the failed pirate Paul Burchill, who was inserted into a not-so-PG angle with his storyline sister Katie Lee Burchill. Here comes fashion faux pas for the 4th time. Wearing a bizarre singlet that enhanced every part of his unshapely body, Bastion Booger made a surprise cameo appearance during the 15th anniversary episode of Monday Night Raw in what year? To help celebrate Raw 15, legends like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mick Foley, and Bastion Booger were brought together under one roof in 2007. Alright, let's try to decipher some more initials for 800. What does JOB stand for? Composed of Al Snow, Bob Holly, Scorpio, and later the Blue Meanie and Dwayne Gill, this group of lovable losers was called the Job Squad, with the JOB standing for Just Over Broke. On to toughest SOBs for 800. Stan Hansen was no ordinary cowboy. The bad man from this Texas town was a wild, bucking bronco, renowned for his savage and merciless brawling style. Stan the Lariat Hansen had a fat wife and 9 kids, and they all lived together in the all-American city of Borger, Texas. Let's finish up the 800-point round now by having you name this Attitude Era finishing maneuver. Gangrel was fanging, banging, and spiking Attitude Era opponents with his Impaler DDT.
Oh, man! Hey, you want to go to war?
Yeah.
You're going to get one.
And we've reached the main event. This is the most difficult round in Wrestling Jeopardy. If you think you're a die-hard wrestling aficionado, these 5 questions are guaranteed to put your knowledge to the test.
Hey yo, don't be a mark.
We begin with the final clue from Obscure Nicknames. Nicknamed the Persian Lion, this wrestler unsuccessfully challenged Tony Nese for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship at Money in the Bank 2019. Now in AEW and a member alongside Tony Nese in the Premier Athletes, who is Arya Daivari? Here comes your final clue from Fashion Faux Pas. Lowered to the ring wrapped in nothing but yellow construction tape, this wrestler made a rather awkward debut in TNA in 2010. A former United States champion, as well as chief of staff for JBL's cabinet, who is Orlando Jordan. And here comes your final clue from Initials. I mean, initially, I'm sure that there was no way you thought that the Daily Double would pop up in the 1,000-point round, am I right?
Yeah!
But you see, that's why I'm the Chief Content Officer of WrestleTrivia. The category for this Daily Double is Initials. Place your wager now. Alright, time is up. Here is this episode's Daily Double clue. What does Up Yours stand for? Now, usually if you hate your job, you sit around the water cooler and you commiserate with other disgruntled employees, but have you ever had the courage to stand up to the man?
What?
To voice your frustrations?
What?
Well, back in May of 1999, former corporation members Mankind, Big Show, Ken Shamrock, and Test banded together to form the Union of People You Oughta Respect, son. Let's move on. Here comes Toughest SOBs for the final time. Earning a worldwide reputation as a bona fide tough guy, the man they called Vader was the first non-American to win this title. And that would be the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. One clue remains before we head to Final Jeopardy, so let's see if you can finish strong and name this Attitude Era finishing maneuver. You know, having to please Terry and Jacqueline, I guess you could say he got put through his own version of his finisher called the meat grinder. All right, don't go anywhere. It's Final Jeopardy time. Here's this episode's Final Jeopardy category. Raw after WrestleMania. Here's this episode's Final Jeopardy clue. Who did Apollo Crews defeat in his debut match on the Raw after WrestleMania 32 in 2016? Was it A, Dolph Ziggler, B, Heath Slater, C, Jack Swagger, or D, Tyler Breeze? Good luck. And back in 2016, Apollo took care of Prince Pretty, who is Tyler Breeze. Congratulations, you did it. You made it through another episode of Wrestling Jeopardy. Thanks so much for watching.
Yeet!
My name is Kevin J. Callis.
Yeah!
And I'll see you next time.